If you want to add more linen garments to your wardrobe, but you're feeling pretty scared about it because A, it's kind of pricey, and B, you just don't know what you're looking for, like what makes good quality linen. Maybe you're shopping online or even in person, and there's a lot of different labels and numbers and weights, and this video is for you. Linen fabric can be sewn into heirloom garments that will be passed down through generations, and they feel really great on your skin. But when you don't get the right stuff, it can be itchy, see-through, not very durable at all. And this is why I want to help you make wiser linen fabric choices and start working with the good stuff. Hey, if we haven't met, my name is Leah from Charlie Darwin Textiles, and I started sewing my handmade linen wardrobe about 6 years ago. And about a year after that, I was so obsessed with linen that I actually started a handmade linen clothing business, and then eventually went on to sell the sewing patterns of my linen clothing designs, which you can find over at my website at charliedarwintextiles.com. But in this time period, I have tried tons of linen, all different weights and densities and weaves from different companies, from different countries, because I'm trying to find the best stuff to put on me and my customers' skin that's going to last a really long time. Now I'm going to share everything that I've learned so far, but if you're in the fabric store right now or you have like 30 tabs open and you just want my quick and dirty recommendation, I'll give it to you in 30 seconds before we jump into the video. In most cases, you want to aim for a medium weight linen, which is about 5.3 ounces per square yard. Generally for clothing, a plain weave works great, and bonus points if it is European flax certified, if it is Okio Tex certified, and if it's already pre-softened mechanically, like from wind, washing, or stones. And as far as color goes, you're safer with AZO free dyes or naturally dyed color. If you go with a fully bleached white, it might be a little bit see-through, so watch out for that. All right, that is your safe bet, but if you want to know why that works, and more importantly, maybe when to actually veer away from that recommendation in specific circumstances, and how to avoid red flags that'll make your fabric feel cheap or scratchy, then let's go back to the beginning. We're gonna start by looking at the plant itself. All right, let's jump in. If you leave with at least just one bit of knowledge about what linen is today, I want you to know that linen is a type of fabric that specifically is made from the flax plant. Every once in a while I come across someone who thinks linen is just like your bed sheets and your towels, because we call it a linen closet a lot of times in the United States at least. But to get really specific about what linen is and is not, it is not hemp, it is not cotton, it is not ramie. Those are all fabrics that come from their own specific plant. So we want to separate linen as its own distinct thing that comes from this plant right here. This is a dried stem from a flax plant. On this plant, it's super cute. These, when it's not dried, are really lovely blue flowers at the top up here. But where the linen is contained is in this really long stem area between the inner core and the outer bark. So if I actually start kind of opening this up, you can start to see that there are some interesting fibrous qualities to this stem. Now, I'm not going to in this video today get into the entire processing of turning a flax plant into linen fabric, but that is just to show you that what we're looking at here is these long blonde fibers running through. What's most important here is that the longer the fiber that can be extracted from the flax plant, then the softer and more durable the final fabric will feel. And that, except really high quality linen, is long fiber flax. There are some shorter fibers that are going to be extracted from the plant. These are called tow, and they are less durable and more scratchy than the long fibers, and they're often used in cheaper products, which I'll bring up a little bit later in the video. Now, when you're shopping for linen, you might come across blends or linen look fabric. I'm no purist. I just love getting all of the qualities of linen, but there is a time and a place for a linen blend. I found that when it's blended with viscose or rayon that it has a little bit less wrinkling and a bit more stretch to it, a little bit more flowy drape. And I found that generally a linen cotton blend is a little bit like more rustic. However, I do want to caution you to look out for linen look fabrics. So these are fabrics or garments that are actually made from polyester that is processed to look like linen. Probably the number one question that I get asked is, what weight of linen fabric do I want to use? Often when you're shopping for fabric online or in stores, you'll come across different weights. They're listed usually either as ounces per square yard or grams per square meter. That just means like in a square 36 by 36 inches for a yard, what is the ounce, what is the weight of the fabric? So I'm going to walk you through the general fabric ranges and what each one is good for. Please don't feel like you need to take notes. I've already jotted down some notes for you. You can find them in the fabric sourcing cheat sheet. It's located inside my free program, Sew Your Dream Linen Wardrobe. The link is in the description below. So starting off, we have our lightweight fabric, which is around 3 to 4 or 2 to 4 ounces per yard, or 80 to 130 grams per square meter. This is like your gauzy type fabric. It's great for really lightweight scarves, lightweight cover-ups, beach cover-ups. It might be a little bit more see-through or transparent. It might feel a little more airy and flowy, but it's not going to provide much warmth for you. Then we graduate up to our medium weight linens. This is going to be 5 to 7-ish ounces per square yard, or 140 to 190 grams per square meter. This is my go-to for 95% of my shirts, dresses, pants, any of my clothing. It's got a fantastic opacity to it, so it's usually not see-through. It's more durable. It does provide some beautiful temperature regulation. I'd say it doesn't make you too hot in the summer. It also keeps your body pretty warm, honestly, in the winter. So I think it is the most preferred fabric if you want to create clothing that you could wear in all seasons. It has pretty good drape. If you go much heavier than this, then you're going to start getting more stiff linen that isn't going to flow and move as well with the bends of your body. As we'll see in our heavyweight linen, that is 8 to 10-ish ounces per square yard, anything above 200 grams per square meter. This is going to be more ideal if you want some really durable and more warm jackets or work pants. And you can even get into very heavy linens, which are so beautiful in their own way. Anything that's like 10 or more ounces per square yard. It's beautiful as upholstery. I think it could be really nice for more heavy outerwear, like jackets and knee patches, things like that. All right, so let's talk about the different types of weaves. And weaves are, if you think about like a weaving loom, it's how each fiber is like sent through the loom and like woven in and out of each other. I hope you like this, this display of what weaving is, but it is important to note that linen is a woven fabric as compared to a knit fabric, which means it's gone through like a weaving loom that has fibers that go along a warp and a weft. I stand corrected. Linen can actually be a knit fabric as well. I just found one online, so you could find it in either format. So I'm going to touch on some of the main weave types that you're going to come across with linen. The most predominant that you're going to see the most often is a plain weave. This is your simple over and under weave, where you have threads that are going horizontal and threads that are weaving over and under them going vertical. This is a very breathable type of linen, and it is very common for your everyday clothing. Then you have your twill weave, which also includes like a herringbone weave. The twill weave has a more diagonal rib pattern. It tends to be a thicker, more opaque and heavier fabric, but because of the diagonal weave, it's a bit more pliable and flexible, So it tends to resist permanent creasing a little bit more than something like a plain weave would. This type of fabric is more popular for using on tailored blazers, structured trousers, French coats, and high-end upholstery. Now, a weave type that I think has been trending a little bit more in the last few years is a waffle or honeycomb texture. It is quite a floppy, so that's why you'll probably find the most success using on something like a robe or a towel that like you don't need almost any structure to the garment itself. All right, so now that we know about different blends, weights, and weaves, it's time to talk about dyes and how color is applied to the fabric. So undyed linen in its like natural state without being dyed or bleached or anything is usually a gray beige color. Very beautiful, but it is not white. Okay, so if you get totally white linen, that is bleached linen. Manufacturers usually bleach it first before dyeing it, and they may even mix completely undyed yarns with bleach dyes. And that's one of my personal favorites for coloration is the mix of a bleached and a natural thread. It gives you something that's more of an off-white color. So when I'm going for white, I go for something like this, which is a mix between bleach and natural, because the gray beige natural fibers add quite a bit more opacity to this, so it's less see-through. And I think it's just such a pretty off-white color. There are a few different methods for how linen fabric can be dyed. You have yarn dyed, piece dyed, and printed. So yarn dyed fabrics means that the yarns or the threads of the fabric are dyed before weaving. That's really good for like checkerboard or stripes or unique jacquard designs, which we didn't talk about that in weaves, but jacquard is a certain method of weaving that creates really fancy designs in the weaves using different yarns. In my case, on my shirt right now, it's a bleached yarn and an undyed yarn, and they're weaving them specifically so that they can create like floral motifs on the fabric. Now, piece dyed is when the fabric is dyed after weaving it. It's already a full sheet of fabric. Now, this is very like similar to garment dyed. If you're buying pre-made clothing, then the fabric might be completely undyed, even all the way through being sewn together as like a shirt, then it is dyed. That will often make it so that all of the threads and the buttons, everything on the garment is all taking on the dye. Something that's a little less common to see with linen, you'll see it a ton with cottons and polyesters, is getting coloration through print. If something's been printed, it means that the surface design is kind of like printed on one side of the fabric, usually using inks. Be warned, that's only going to just put the design on one side of the fabric, and from my experience, that does not provide as long lasting of color, which can be totally fine depending on what you like want out of the garment. Now, prints aside, let's talk a bit about the different dye types and how they interact with our skin and the environment. I'm going to keep this pretty brief, but conventional synthetic dyes, also known as azo dyes, they are popular in fast fashion because they are cheap and they are very vibrant. And of course, when you're mass manufacturing clothes, those are kind of important. However, some of the azo dyes can break down into aromatic amines, which are known carcinogens, and they can be absorbed into your skin, especially when you sweat. So in the 1990s, something came on the market called azo-free dyes. This is an alternative that is certified to avoid certain compounds that are bad for your skin and the environment. And luckily, azo-free is becoming more of a global industrial standard for high quality ethical textiles. But be warned that many traditional azo dyes are still widely used in regions that have less stringent regulations. So you want to look out for two different certifications. One is OECO-TEX Standard 100 and GOTS, GOTS, stands for Global Organic Textile Standard. Both of these certifications imply that the dye is azo-free. You don't necessarily need a fabric that is both, but just find one with one of those two things and you're good to go. And if you're someone with a lot of skin sensitivities, then I actually really recommend you look for plant dyes. That is what I specialize in using. These are dyes created from pigments from plants like indigo, tea, pomegranate, madder, kutch, weld. These make really, really rich earth tones that are so beautiful. Natural dyes are what I use for the garments I sell in my online shop and my sewing kits that I sell. But I will say you probably won't see them in a lot of different fabric stores, and that's because they are honestly much harder to standardize at scale, and they can vary from batch to batch because they're a little bit more sensitive to the pH of the water they're put through and the soils that they're grown in. So I love them for that reason, but that is why you won't see natural dyes quite as widespread as everything else. And if you want truly the most skin sensitive, I would go with just undyed linen fabric in its natural state. No bleach, no nothing on it. So the bulk of information that I've shared with you so far will get you most of the way to where you need to be. But there's a few interesting aspects left, including the country of origin of the fabric and the softness quality. Let's talk about softness and fabric finishing. Linen will soften over time as it interacts with your body heat and it has friction against your skin. You might wash it and dry it a few times, and this will just soften it up over time. But sometimes you want to just buy linen and have it be soft right out the get-go, right? So there are a few different ways that linen is softened by manufacturers. The first way is chemical finishing. They're going to use some chemicals to mercerize the fabric, which is going to add a sheen and help the fabric uptake dye a little bit more easily. And depending on what they propose the use for the linen fabric is, they might add water repellent finishes and coatings or wrinkle resistant resins. These might have a time and place for you, but they do often negatively affect the breathability of the fabric and they can irritate your skin more often than not. So something that I always recommend people look for is linen fabric that has been mechanically softened. Mechanically just means like through some sort of motion, basically like simulating the way that linen would kind of naturally soften on the body over time. So you'll see words like washed linen. Maybe it's gone through a washing and drying process several times, or it has been softened with the wind, or it has been stone washed or tumbled. Any of these methods are going to generally be better for your skin. Now, if you're shopping fabric and it's not as soft as you want it to be, and you want to soften your linen at home, of course, I've got tips for you. The way I do it is just wash it and dry it a few times. If I need to go a little more hardcore, you can use white vinegar in the wash. You can put wool dryer balls in the dryer, or there are some more gentle like softening potions out there. Fabricstore.com has a softening potion that I like that is supposedly more environmentally friendly and skin sensitive, and I have used it and genuinely liked it. We have one more section to go over. Let's talk about the origin of where the flax fiber is grown and where it is processed and turned into linen. This does have impact on what the final outcome is. So we'll talk about two things: where the fabric is grown and where it is woven. There are groups in the United States who are trying to bring back the growing and harvesting of flax for fiber in the US. I have another video on YouTube where I show you the tour I went on of a group in Pennsylvania trying to do just that. But for now, they are most prominently grown in the Flax Belt, France, Belgium, and Netherlands, where they have some of the highest quality fiber due to their soils and their climate. From there, the harvested product is shipped elsewhere to be processed and woven, and sometimes it's processed and woven in the same place. So as we get to the weaving stage of linen, there are some key countries that really specialize in this. You'll often come across Irish linen. This is known for being a little bit denser, crisper linen used for suits and blazers. And then you have Belgian and French linen, which is known for being a little bit smoother with fewer slubs, like less kind of like texture within the weave. It is very long staple or long fiber from the flax plant and strong. And then you might also see Italian linen. This is typically a little bit lighter and silkier with a little bit more of a fluid drape to it. And then we have our Eastern European linens, which would come from places like Lithuania and Poland, and they often have a more homespun, rustic character to them. They create very durable, casual, earthy clothing. I love the look of these. I'd say Charlie Darwin leans a little bit more into this because I'm making everyday clothes that I want to just feel really earthy, less shiny, polished. Then we have our Asian linens, linen being produced and woven in China and India. China is currently a major global producer of linen fabrics, not surprisingly because they are also a major contributor and producer of fast fashion. And they're typically making a lower quality linen using the tow fibers that we talked about all the way at the beginning of this video, which are the shorter fiber, kind of almost byproducts from the linen plant to create a cheaper linen fabric. This is going to be not as comfortable. And they might also sometimes blend linen with ramie, which is another cheaper but more coarse fiber. And they typically do more chemical processing on the linen fabric. And of course, as I talk about the country of origin of all these fabrics, there are exceptions, and I'm sure there are manufacturers in each of these countries who are doing things different than the status quo, what usually comes out of their countries. Two certifications that you can look for here are the Masters of Linen certification and the European Flax certification. These certifications generally ensure that it went through more strict quality and labor standards. That's it. I've dumped my linen brain into your brain. Your key takeaways from this are that if you want to build a linen wardrobe that lasts, I'd say my go-to recommendation is a medium weight, plain weave linen. Aim for long staple. Sometimes you can't find out if it's long staple, but you can kind of get context clues like going for something that is certified European flax when possible. And I really do prefer mechanically softened, like through wash, tumble, wind, stones, whatever, and or OECO-TEX certified fabrics if you care about your skin sensitivities at all. Your skin is your largest organ, and I don't think choosing fabrics that are going to be on your skin 24/7 should be a guessing game. That's why I created Sew Your Dream Linen Wardrobe. Link is in the description below. Not only am I giving you the full roadmap to sewing really cute linen pieces, but you get some really fun insider looks like the global crowdsourced linen supplier spreadsheet that I am building. And within the Sew Your Dream Linen Wardrobe program, which as of now is completely free, you can find my fabric sourcing cheat sheet to break down everything that we talked about today. You can keep it nearby next time that you're looking online for linen fabric. It's everything you need to stop wasting money on the wrong fabric and start sewing and wearing the good stuff. Head to the link in my description to join Sew Your Dream Linen Wardrobe, get personalized pattern recommendations, and get a personalized roadmap to grow your collection of cohesive, cozy, soft, lovable, durable linen garments that make you feel good and look good in a more plant-based wardrobe. I can't wait to see you guys over there. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.